So usually when we feel stuck, in other words, when we don't feel that we have that freedom or independence of our state of being, we don't have that power of choice to simply shift our condition, to shift our perspective on life, to shift how we experience ourselves. It's usually because we believe that what is actually real. Whether that's the physical body, an emotion that comes up, that it seems right or seems accurate or seems to actually be real, or whether that is just the overall state of being that we're used to, that we by now feel like, oh, this is how I am, this is who I am. In other words, we're only stuck by choice still. Like, we place ourselves in that reality. In other words, we choose that that's what is true. And because we choose to believe that that's what is true, then we can have other imaginations or desires for a different flavor of being. But it won't be experienced because we believe it's not real, whereas this is real. And with the experience or the belief, this is real, what I'm experiencing now is the reality of my experience, and it's real, really real, usually comes a sense of solidity, of time, of process, of heaviness, of cause and effect. Like, it needs its time to change. It can't just change like that. Why? Because it's really real. It's really solid. It really exists, whereas everything else is just imagination. Does that resonate to some extent? Even with the physical body and the emotions and the thoughts, or the on-off switch. Like, at that point, that is what seems so real to you, whatever that reason may be for switching off. So even just, you're not going to force yourself out of that, but even just to see that, to see very clearly how you are choosing unconsciously, that the perspective that you've taken on in that moment seems very real to you. Like, the choice that you're making. How are you choosing your state of being that moment? By choosing to attach it to something that appears as part of what is, and you're giving it a lot of credit, in a sense. You're giving it a lot of reality, whereas it doesn't need as much of a reality if you don't give it as much of a reality. So that's really all there is to that, and it may take some time to clarify this for yourself, especially when those perceptions feel really intensely stuck, or feel really intensely physical, or feel really intensely emotional, etc. It may take some experience or some practice to see that even that is a choice. But when you realize that even your stuckness is a choice, then you realize that you're not actually stuck. You're choosing to be stuck, which changes the flavor already, makes it more empowering rather than victimizing or stuckness. So you can still experience the feeling of stuckness, but at least now you know and feel that you are free to choose the stuckness. And you know that for some reason this is what you're choosing. So you can still just roll with it. It doesn't mean that then suddenly it needs to change, but it will already lift to an extent, because again, it's that sort of like the first appearance and the response to the appearance, or the second appearance, that I mentioned a couple of days ago in some other context, where I said that the appearance arises, but that's not who you are. When you feel stuck or frustrated with yourself is if you respond to that appearance as that old appearance would respond to an appearance. Does that make sense? So an old appearance or an old belief system or an old stuckness or an old emotion or an old sensation can come up. But that in and of itself is not the stuckness, even if it is your direct experience and it consumes 100% of your mind's consciousness. That's okay. But how you choose to respond to that, how you choose to view that appearance, is determining to what degree you feel either empowered and free, or stuck and limited and victimized by the appearance. Does that make sense? I'm saying take ownership of it, yes. Very, very compassionately so, but yes, totally. Take ownership of it, meaning that, okay, this is what is. That doesn't mean that you need to... You don't need to equate empowerment with the appearance having to change. Because if you do that, you make yourself stuck again, because chances are that the sensation will linger for a bit, and that's fine. So if you equate your freedom to the sensation having to change at will, then you're actually making yourself dependent upon that idea, which is not empowerment, it's victimization, a subtle form of it. So instead, yes, allow for what is to be what is, And the change in being doesn't have to involve the appearance. It can simply be a change in attitude towards the appearance that's still there. In other words, nothing changes in your internal or external experience, except for your approach towards it, your understanding of it, your understanding mainly that it is by choice, that it is by agreement, that the stuckness is experienced, that the physicality is experienced as distracting, or the emotionality is experienced as sucking you in or demanding your attention. That is true, but that's by choice. That's because you've given meaning to the appearance in some way, and therefore you believe it's real. If you see that that's okay, but that's by choice, then that already frees you up, and that allows you to actually start making some changes very gently, very subtly, simply by feeling more elated, simply by seeing yourself through a more empowered perspective. Does that make sense?